Welcome back to First Light, where we share stories and strategies to help you grow in life, leadership, and business. Today I'm joined by Chris Mullins, founder of the Intake Academy, the expert behind transforming how law firms connect with clients. For over 2 decades, Chris has taught firms how to turn every call into an opportunity to build trust and serve with empathy. In this conversation, we dig into what great communication really looks like and how mastering it can completely transform your team and your results. All right, welcome back to First Light. I am privileged to have Chris Mullins from the Intake Academy join us today. Chris, for those who may not know you or have worked with you, why don't you take a second and introduce yourself?
Chris Mullins been working with law firms for 30 years now. That's a 3 and a 0. Intake Academy, primarily focusing on intake, helping as many people as we can, converting and signing up people, and having strong, healthy intake team members to get that done.
Well, one thing I can say, Chris, is that, obviously we've worked together now for a couple of years. And so, you're someone who I've gotten to know a lot, both personally and professionally over those last 2 years. Um, but, um, I can say what you've taught us and is huge. And so when I went down this path of growing a law firm and knowing I had to make some changes, I knew I didn't know everything, and so I had to go hire some experts.
Mm.
And fortunately, I was given your name, and I didn't know at the time what an integral part of you would be of our journey and our growth. But I knew that I didn't know everything there was to be known about intake, and needed someone to help coach. And I was one. I think I made the investment first in you and building an intake department before I made the investment in marketing and try to make the phones ring.
Yeah.
So talk about that. Talk about how important it is for whether you're a law firm. I know you work specifically with law firms, but it really applies to all businesses that are trying to service clients, attract leads, and then close leads. How important it is to really invest in those kind of systems and processes and in the operational side.
Back in the day, before I started with just law firms, I was working with Blue Cross Blue Shield and the airlines and casinos and all kinds of different companies. You can't just throw money out at the wind there and expect everything's going to be great, because you still need humans to make it work. Yeah, and you did it the right way, and not all firms do it that way, but it's also just as important to pay attention to the growth so that you don't overextend the humans, the people on your teams, because then all the things that we want won't come true.
Well, you've really become that expert in this space, and I know you've helped a lot of law firms transform their intake departments. But you didn't start off as an expert, so take us a little bit through that journey to becoming this expert and really finding this niche where you are an intake academy for law firms.
I used to work in the newspaper business. I worked in advertising, inbound department, a call center, and folks calling in to place ads. And so that's where I began. And I actually got the job because I just always thought this building of this newspaper, the Lawrence Eagle Tribune in North Andover, Massachusetts, was an amazing building. When I was a kid, I thought, I'm going to work there someday. So it was time for me to work. I knocked on the door, and they had a receptionist job, so I took it. And then I got into intake, which they really called it like inbound sales. And I did really well. Not at first. I thought I was really good, and then my boss told me, "Yeah, you're not really good," and he put me in my he put me in my place, and then I really learned what it was all about, which was really listening to people and giving them what they want, and then a lot of different newspapers would call to see if I wanted to leave my company, my newspaper, to go to them, and I knew that wasn't ethical. But I got kind of cocky and I said, I'm going to go start my own business. But I didn't do it with the right way. So I had to start a cleaning business to put food on the table while I was, and work at McDonald's a little bit too, while I was, while I was figuring out this whole thing. So I started with newspapers. It didn't really work out. And then just because of the internet, because the internet was born back then, I got, the insurance and casinos and all kinds of different companies. And then I met a gentleman by the name of Dan Kennedy, several years later, big marketing guru that many people might know. And I was in his masterminds, and there was some attorneys there. And fast forward, well, can you do that for us? And then more attorneys. And then I just said, you know what? I think I'll stay in my lane with just attorneys. But before that happened, with Dan Kennedy, one of the clients I got was Miracle Air with Dan, and because it was his client, there was 100 franchises, and there was no Zoom, there were no recorded calls, so everything cassettes. I don't know if everybody remembers what a cassette is, but so we do call different Miracle Air offices and pretend to be a prospective client to help them to do better and mail cassettes in the mail. Yeah, it was a long time ago, but fast forward right now, it's just law firms, and yeah.
A lot of people, I think, when they're growing a business, they don't know which way to go, which direction to go. They think it's better to cast a large net and try to service all industries versus just kind of, lining on one. And so, you chose your niche and said, I'm going to focus on attorneys. And so, kind of talk about how that's been important to your business and how, you've been able to have this business for so long because you niched down and focused on attorneys.
Well, I wasn't distracted. I wasn't distracted. I was only focused on one industry and then one area. So I niched down even further to intake. And because I wasn't distracted, I became exceptionally good at it. And then as a result, other opportunities came, and meaning training attorneys and paralegals with client relationships just by being observed with the intake. So not being distracted is huge. You won't waste time. You'll become a real strong expert, and you'll be respected more.
Yeah, well, with the industry changing, there's voice AI, there's voice agents, all this stuff's happening.
Mhm.
You know, what's your thoughts on all that? I mean, there's always going to be a human element, but kind of give us your thoughts on kind of, and not just in law, but in all aspects. We're starting to see more and more of that. So talk about the influence of AI and how you're adapting.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great. I think it's a positive, and I think it can be used as a support for people in their roles to do better and be stronger and um, more focused and less exhausted. It can speed things up and be more efficient. We can do a better job because you don't have to train it over and over and over again. And you do have to do that with humans, and humans aren't robots, so you kind of have to be refreshed, and that's not really efficient all the time. So I totally support it with regards to my area with intake, and my area in intake is the same with any business. It's law firms, it's called intake, but all businesses have an intake department. It might be called inside sales, it might be called call center, it might be called sales, but it's the same thing. Calls are coming in, we handle the calls. Calls are going out, we try to get more business and do a great job. I mean, it's no different. And so to use AI so that you don't have one missed call is huge. Is huge. I mean, you don't have to keep hiring people and have a revolving door and overextend your people, and the amount of money that you waste doing that is enormous. Having AI handle missed calls, you won't have missed calls, you'll have a better experience. And if the person that we're speaking to with AI wants to talk to a live, well, then we'll just give them a live person. But AI should be first for those. That's low hanging fruit. Missed calls, low hanging fruit for any industry, 110%.
Yeah. One thing I want to talk about is that, for us, you've also been instrumental in onboarding, or I guess let's start with interviewing, even finding
Yeah.
the right person to be in that job. So you've helped interview, then you've helped onboard, you've helped train, and
Mhm.
then you've helped continue to train the staff. And so, really, in a lot of ways, what you've done is you've helped build a team. So talk a little bit about kind of your philosophy in building a team and how you've learned to build a team and how you've learned to interview people to really find the qualities, because let's be honest, not everybody is made for a call center or an intake type job. You're on the phone with people all day every day. Not everybody's gonna be good at that. So how have you really gone about kind of fine tuning, being able to identify the right people, bringing the right people in, and then also building and a cohesive team?
Yeah, I mean, as far as finding the right people, um, it's not the right person isn't necessarily the person that works in the industry that you're looking for. It's really come down to character, integrity, and attitude, and the best people usually would be the people that have worked on a farm because they're very very hardworking. Teachers are also very, very strong candidates to work because their job is very difficult and they have to deal with people and confrontation with parents and students on a regular basis. The veterans are huge as well. Restaurant business is huge because it's the same philosophy, hard work. It's hard, hard, hard work, physical, mental work, holidays, weekends, 7 days a week. The retail business, same exact thing. Insurance industry and financial advisors, very, very commission driven, hard work. So people that work really hard and have demonstrated that with some longevity, not like a rolling stone, 6 months or a year, those are the people that will do the very best for you. But you also have to do your due diligence. You know, you can't just, oh, that sounds good. I'll interview that person. And you're feeling the pain because you need your phones covered or what have you. So you just do it. If you do that, the wrong hire, not only is it a financial issue, but it's also affecting the rest of your team because they have a relationship with that person or those people. And so they can get bad habits. But then also, if you keep hiring and hiring, your current team is handling all of the extra work, and it makes you look very bad. They don't respect you as much anymore as the manager or the leader or the owner. So doing your due diligence to find the right people and then take really good care of them and listen to them is huge. So that kind of goes into the building a cohesive team. You you you've got to like really care about the team as people because if you don't, they know it and they're just going to leave. And the ways you can do that is you could just talk to them. You could just talk to them. You could just get to know them a little bit. I mean, obviously, you want to be efficient with your workload, but you should know their name and know a little bit about them. I mean, there's so many different ways internally you can communicate positive feedback to people that doesn't cost you anything at all. So just doing that alone is really important. Letting people know how important they are to you, to your business, to your family. Um, it's important.
I want you to talk a little bit about the changes that you've seen over the 30 years, because I know even in the last couple of years it's changed so much. But for example, you know what's crazy to me, and I think it's true in every industry, but particularly in the law industry, is that or legal industry, is every firm approaches intake differently.
Yeah.
I'm sure when you get called in to talk to different firms, you're like, well, show me how you're currently doing it. And nobody's got nobody's doing it the same way. And then what we've done, a lot of people are like, I can't believe this is the way you handle it. But obviously we use a lot of virtual assistants, and fortunately because of you, we've had some longevity there and we built a good team. But talk about kind of what the changes you've seen in the industry, and where things have come.
Well, I mean, I guess the biggest change would be virtual assistants, remote workers. That would be since maybe 2022, that's been the biggest change. And um, law firms and all businesses embracing it more. But what hasn't changed with regards to that is we the businesses, um, we still are not really doing our due diligence when it comes to hiring. We think, oh, this is a great fix. It's remote. It'll be great. It'll be, but we still haven't figured out how to onboard people into the proper training. So my point is that virtual is great, but the difference is you have to work to bring them into your office. You have to make them part of your team, because if you don't do that, they're going to feel like you don't care. And the other thing too is, to be honest, Chris, is if you listen to some of the call recordings of your team members, let's just say intake, for example, remote, mostly, you will hear some disrespect from prospective clients and clients, because clients tend to call into the phone lines that they're not expected to. Let's just say the sales line, for various reasons, being very disrespectful to your remote team workers that work in different countries. And if you really get to know your team well enough, privately, one-on-one, they will tell you their emotional pain and trauma that they feel from some of the calls that they've been taking. And we, the managers and leaders, didn't even know it. Didn't even know they were going through that kind of thing. So remote is huge, but you still have to treat everybody with respect and take care of them. And I do recommend that the best is to have people in office. But when you can't do that for whatever the reason is, there's nothing wrong with remote, but you still have to do your due diligence and take care of them and pay attention to them, and even more because they're remote.
I think one of the challenges that we see as we've grown, and like we've been committed to remote work because we understand the benefit it is to our team,
Mm-hmm.
but we also understand the benefit it is to the firm and our ability to grow our firm by allowing and having remote work. But the engagement side of it is always the tough side, because you don't see those people every single day. And so, talk about some of the strategies that you've seen be effective and really keep an engagement with your team in remote work environment, because I do think that's a massive thing.
Yeah, it is a massive thing. And one of the things that I've seen and guided firms on is to have like surprise check-ins. So you can just pop up on your remote workers team screen as a video camera. I mean, you just pop in, hey, how you doing? So it's the same concept as management by walking around, right? It's the same thing. And that's like a great tool, right? But we're not always in person anymore. So do the same thing, but just use technology, right? Just pop in. You really should do that, because you want to see how they're doing unannounced without being prepared, right? So that's something you should do a few times a day, every single day. And then make sure that they're part of all the meetings that you have. And also when you're doing special functions and things like that, and events, find a way to be creative to involve remote workers and intake no matter what, because they do feel like they're not thought of if you don't do it. Just be creative. I mean, it's technology. And the other is, some of the firms, they're putting screens up in their intake department, and on a schedule, the remote workers are on the screen. And so everybody, so they're right there. So, and I think you folks do this, you ship them t-shirts and shirts and everything, right?
Yep.
I mean, so do that. It's the same thing. It's just technology that you're using.
Yeah. I know it's, too, one of the things that I've loved about our relationship and working with you is that you also bring value to the firm as a whole, and not just an intake team. You've offered, different trainings for our staff, because some of the same things that you talk about that happens with intake also happens with case managers and paralegals and attorneys. And so I know you've offered some trainings. And then also, I know you've done a lot to market yourself with podcasts and books. And so I want you to kind of talk a little bit about those other things that you've done, and other ways that you provide value other than just intake.
Yeah, and so I am just as passionate about the attorneys and paralegals and case managers, because um, their sale is retention. right? So keeping the client and keeping them in a good relationship. So it's all the same principles. It's all the same training. It's completely the same. And mental health is really a big part of it for all of these team members because the business that you're all in is very challenging because of the trauma and all the different kinds of calls from clients and prospective clients and the fatalities and the horrible stories. Our team members, client team members and prospect team members are consuming that. And there's a lot of trauma and PTSD that's not even spoken about, mental health issues in these departments. So I've gotten involved with empathy training, and I'll provide empathy training to the other departments, the attorneys and the case managers, and firm wide, and also to Cardoza Law School and Fordham Law School. Have done that as well, and providing as much training as possible so that everybody's on the same page. And if we give empathy to ourselves first, it's easier to give it to our team members and our other departments, and it's easier to give it to prospects and to clients. And so, 100%.
Yeah, I know I've sat through those trainings with you, and it took so much away from it, and so powerful. Um, Talk a little bit about. I know you've got your podcast, Lawyers Tell All, and so talk about some of the creative things that you've done to market the Intake Academy and to stand out in a competitive space.
Yeah, I think, one of the biggest things I've done and I continue to do, and I learned a long time ago, is I don't burn bridges. And it might be old school, but it really works. And never say anything bad about anybody. Just always speak the best about someone, no matter who they are or whatever the situation is. You don't need to be part of the conversations when other people might be talking bad about somebody. Your reputation is huge. It only takes one bad moment to ruin it. And the other thing that I've done really well is, especially in the beginning, is I surrounded myself with people that are much smarter, much more, famous and celebrity, high end, 7-figure professionals in the legal industry and outside the legal industry, because I learned from them. And I didn't look at them as, oh, they're so much bigger than I am. It was, sure, a little nerve-wracking at first, but I got to know them and realize that all you really have to do is just do the right thing and claim your celebrity status by how you speak, by your reputation, how you walk, and how you talk.
Yeah, incredible. Um, the Talk a little bit about the kind of the way you kind of market yourself with your podcast and other things that you do, and being the expert. But one of the things I was going to ask you to talk about as well is, you've been doing this for 30 years. You are an expert, and but you continue to learn and to continue to be a learner, and continue to make yourself better as well. So talk about the importance of that. Even though you've been doing this for 30 years, and there's probably not a lot of people that know more than you about this, you're a constant learner.
Well, I think the most important thing first is mindset. And so I always have the mindset of I can learn from, it doesn't really matter. Things are always changing, and you can always learn something. As far as my podcast, Lawyers Tell All, that was a very strategic decision. I made a one-time investment, up front to get it going. Came up with a really good name. I actually got the name. Want to hear where I got the name, Chris? I got the name from. What do you hear this? What do you call that show? The Bachelor.
Yeah.
And they say they
Maybe tell all or the men tell all. Yeah, the last episode.
that. I always liked it. So okay, Lawyers Tell All. We'll do that. So, but and so it was very strategic, and I did not realize. I still am surprised. Everybody wants to be on a podcast. But attorneys, it doesn't matter how busy they are or how large the firm, you just send an invitation, they want to do it. And so by doing it, yes, it was strategic for marketing. It's a win-win for marketing because everybody gets the podcast. I get the podcast. Everybody puts it out there. But also, I keep learning over and over again from all the different people I'm interviewing, and they learn more about me. And so no matter, even though it was strategic, I'm still doing it now for the right reasons. And so all good things happen for that reason, if that makes sense.
We'll talk about, obviously to have the podcast and do it as long as you have, you've got discipline in your life. You're consistent. I know, you stand by your word. When you say you're going to do something, you do it. When you're supposed to be in a meeting, you're there. When you've always been great about all that. So talk about the things that keep you disciplined and healthy and consistent and showing up at such a high level all the time.
Well, so I have a trainer, a Navy SEAL trainer. I meet with her once a week on Zoom, and she's from California, and she trains the Navy SEALs, and so I do that every single week, and we do crucibles and 6-hour crucibles, and yes, all of that crazy stuff, and get in the cold water bath. All of that stuff. And I've also been training for ultra marathons. I did one last summer, 30 miles, and then 3 years ago. And I've probably done 4 or 5 triathlons. One triathlon was canceled because there was a hurricane. And I was like, oh yeah, I don't think so. I did all this training. No way. So I went ahead and I did it anyway in the hurricane because there was just no way I was going to do that training and not do my triathlon. Nobody else was there, but that was okay. A friend followed me in a car to make sure I was safe.
Well, see, I learned something new through this conversation today because you and I, as long as I've known you, have not talked about that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And as you may know or may not know, I'm doing my first Ironman in a week. From I leave a week from tomorrow to do it. It's a little over a week and a half away, but to know that you're an ultra runner and to know that you're in triathlons, and I know that you're consistent and disciplined in your training and your approach, and I understand that a lot more now.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I love it because it's so hard. It's so hard, and it takes me to places that are not comfortable all the time. And it's really difficult, and it can be a little bit lonely in those moments of 30 miles. But yeah, I learn, and I usually bring a recorder with me and talk to my grandchildren and save all the recordings so that when I pass on, they can hear my voice and hear me talking while I was running and all these crazy things I was thinking about, right? So, but yeah, and the other thing too is I learned that just keep it real. Just keep it real. I don't think I was always that way, but I just learned over time just to keep it real and tell the truth. Like just tell the truth, even if it's a hard thing to do, and keep it as real as you possibly can. Yeah.
That's an incredible advice. The last question I'm going to ask you is, you got 30 years into this, but what lasting impact are you hoping to leave on the legal industry or on just the world as a whole?
Just the idea that to care about the people that you work with. If you do the right thing by them, they will do the right thing with prospective clients and each other. And that sounds like, oh, that's kind of easy. It's not that easy to do, but you can do it if you just push and do it every single day. And don't burn your bridges. Just keep pushing on.
Incredible advice. And like you said, it's much easier said than done.
It is.
Chris, I want to thank you so much for being on First Light, sharing your story, and sharing your wisdom. Thank you so much. Chris Mullins reminds us that success starts with how we listen, and that every conversation is a chance to make someone feel seen, heard, and cared for. If this episode inspired you, share it with a friend, team member, or anyone who's on a journey of building something meaningful. You can learn more about Chris at theintakeacademy.com. And as always, you can find more episodes of First Light wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time, keep shining your light.